The Prophecy, a legacy novella, written by Sheritta Bitikofer, narrated by J. Lindenwood.
The Prophecy. Chapter 1. Small Russian village, a day's travel from Moscow, 1648. "I'll make a bet with you," Hugo said as he looked around at the growing flames that slowly consumed the bundles of hay and branches at their feet. 50 rubles says the fur on my collar will catch fire before my beard. Geoffrey rolled his green eyes heavenward and caught a glimpse of the first few stars appearing in the Russian sky. "You know perfectly well that neither of us have 50 rubles. I hardly think you're in the position to make such a bet." Beside him, tied to his own post with his hands behind his back, Hugo shrugged. "Fine. 5 rabbits then." Geoffrey shifted his hands against his own bonds, but the silver beads woven into the rope seared his skin as harshly as the fire would in a few moments. "How can you compare 50 rubles to 5 rabbits? That hardly seems a fair trade." Hugo chuckled, such a strange sound coming from a werewolf who was about to burn alive. "If I promise you the meat of 50 rabbits, I'd be in your debt for 100 years. You know how terrible I am at catching the blasted things." All around, Geoffrey listened to the village folks shout their curses and obscenities at the two brothers. While they spoke in the language of their mother country, Russia, Hugo and Geoffrey preferred English. It was an advantage when they didn't want the locals to know what they were talking about. Certainly, if any of them could understand their banter now, they would think them doubly mad. "You just had to confuse the Bodoc and the Walkalak, didn't you?" Geoffrey chided his younger brother. "We have been here for five years." Hugo cut him off, rolling his dark eyes. "Yes, I know. You're usually the one to talk to the locals, and I take the notes. If you hadn't been busy with that blonde farmer's daughter, you might have been there to say the right thing." Geoffrey didn't even know where the young lady had gone since they were seized by the mob. He hoped she wouldn't suffer because she was caught romping around with a werewolf. The flames licked around his ankles, and he could feel the heat seep through the leather of his boots. June in eastern Russia wasn't outrageously cold, but the temperature had dropped once the sun sank below the horizon. If it were any colder, the fire might have been comfortable. Yet how comfortable could they really be when the fire would slowly eat away at their flesh? As werewolves, they could heal faster than a human, but burning alive was still a concern. Their bodies could not regenerate fast enough to compensate for the destructive force of the flames. That still didn't give them much time to escape. If it weren't for the blasted silver in their bonds, it might have been easier to break free. Still, Geoffrey worked at the ropes that had been especially made to contain them, trying in vain to loosen the tight knots. "Are you free yet?" he asked Hugo, not bothering to look his way. "I was hoping you were working on that, brother." Geoffrey growled in frustration as the first of the flames finally caught on the fabric of his pant leg. "Damn it, Hugo! This is serious." "I am well aware of that," his brother replied. "No, I am not free yet. This silver is hurting me more than the fire. It will soon be the other way around if we can't get off this platform." Geoffrey tugged one last time, and the rope fell slack around his wrists. "I'm loose." "Me too." Hugo snapped his hands around, and together they bent low to undo the ropes that tied their feet. Though the silver bit into their fingertips, it was nothing compared to the searing flames that brushed at their cheeks and hands. Geoffrey fully expected the crowd to scream and run away after the two werewolves jumped from the burning platform. Yet not a single one interrupted their shouting or waving of angry fists to even look their way. Not willing to question it, Geoffrey and Hugo darted through the crowd that still faced the pyre. Their burns quickly healed as they escaped into the cool forest. Their baggy tunics and coats reeked of smoke, though he knew a good bath in the river was long overdue anyway. Yet there was another scent on the wind that he did not recognize. Either they came much closer to the depths of hell than he realized, or something else was amiss. Once they were a good distance away from the village, and they didn't hear the mob chase after them, Hugo and Geoffrey stopped in a dense cluster of trees. He lifted his nose and took a deep
Sample complete. Ready to continue?